Hello everybody, and welcome into the post-spring break edition of UMass Sports Weekly, your number one source for all things UMass sports. As you must already know, but if you don't, I'm your host Tommy Kaludi, and we actually have a lot to get to today in this show. Being the first week back from spring break, we'll discuss the scandal that is engulfing the UMass men's basketball program. We'll also talk about the new coach that Ryan Bamford recently hired just several hours ago. After that, Liam Byrne will come on to talk about the men's baseball team and preview them for this season. John Anderson will come on, talk about the men's lacrosse team and their recent 3-game winning streak. And then we'll finish off the show on a little bit of a lighter note, talking about the NCAA tournament in my bracket, which is pretty much destroyed. It's going to be a great show. We have a lot to get to, so let's get right on moving. This is UMass Sports Weekly.
This is UMass Sports Weekly.
And welcome back to the show. In December of 2016, a civil suit was filed against Lou Rowe, a former coaching assistant and UMass men's basketball player, by one Anna Hickman. Now, Ms. Hickman is charging or accusing Mr. Rowe of, among other things, intimidation, false imprisonment, and a violation of her civil rights. This is a scandal that has shocked the UMass basketball program and is now being handled internally by UMass Athletics. Now, what really made this story go viral was the fact that not only is Rowe being charged, but also Derek Kellogg, Chiron Chapman, and Richard Hogan. And what has made this story very infamous is the fact that there are charges of covering up with regards to the coaching staff. Now, in a civil suit like this, there are damages being asked. This is still going through the court system, and Ms. Hickman is asking for $75,000 in damages. Now, Ryan Bamford and the UMass Athletics Department hired a private investigator to conduct their own internal investigation of this issue. Now, I'm going to read for you, and you'll see a graphic of the, quote, press conference that Ryan Bamford held on this matter. In December of 2016, UMass officials took prompt action when they learned, for the first time, of allegations concerning the December 2013 conduct of members of the men's basketball coaching staff and student athletes. At this time, UMass took appropriate measures, including hiring an outside investigator to independently review the matter. This review found no evidence to support any of the allegations regarding the conduct of student athletes or coaching staff. The NCAA has not notified UMass that these allegations constitute a violation of NCAA rules, and the NCAA has not indicated that any investigation is being considered. UMass is not aware of any evidence that any violation of NCAA regulations has occurred. Now, usually this would be good news. However, in the climate that we are in, and with recent events on other college campuses, it's important, audiences, to note that situations like this and other events where crimes are covered up are a very serious issue. And I'd just like to make a plea to A.D. Bamford. Don't make the same mistakes as people from Baylor, people from Duke. Make sure that this is seen through. Make sure that the truth gets out and tell this story. Because if it doesn't, the consequences could be dire. And we'd hate to see that. Now, we hope the basketball program moves through this. We hope that UMass Athletics can recover from this, and we hope that the truth comes out. That is our hope here. Now I'd like to transition a little bit into lighter news regarding the men's basketball program. Earlier today, Ryan Bamford announced the hiring of Pat Kelsey, former Winthrop basketball coach. Now, the Winthrop Eagles made the NCAA tournament this year. They won their Big South Conference twice in 5 years under Kelsey. He has really been a juggernaut in that conference. He was an assistant for both Xavier and Wake Forest and had an overall record of 102 and 59. Now, Kelsey will come in. He has that wonderful recruiting class that Derek Kellogg brought in, number 25 class in the country. And he has some work to do. Mr. Kelsey is taking a program that was brutally underperforming, was under 500 for the majority of this year, and had high expectations. Now, in Kelsey's opening press conference, or his opening statements after finding out he received the job, he cited UMass's winning tradition and the history behind the program. Our hope here, both as journalists and as UMass Sports Weekly members and as sports fans in general, is that Mr. Kelsey can kind of take the program out of what it's in right now and turn it into something great. He surely has a great track record at Winthrop. He did a lot of things to turn that program around, and we wish him the best, and we'll give you all the updates we can on his hiring. Thank you very much for that. When we come right back, we're going to talk baseball with Liam Byrne. So stay tuned, everybody. And welcome back in. Now, last we left the men's lacrosse team, they were 0-4, reeling off of several losses to top 25 teams. And they had 3 games over break that we're going to update you on. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm going to bring in John Anderson. John, the team was 0-4. They played 3 games over break. What is their record now?
3-4.
Boom.
3 in a row.
3 in a row for the Minutemen.
3 big wins. First one, and it actually came during that broadcast while myself and Phil Sanzo were kind of going off on UMass athletics as a whole. And I was talking about, the UMass lacrosse, they're playing number 15 Yale tonight too. So chalk up another L. They end up winning that game, folks. They come away with the W, 11-9 at Yale. Grant Consoletti with 2 goals. Jeff Traynor coming out of nowhere with 2 goals, as well as Tyler Bogart with the game winner. I don't know how they do it. They are the most. Everything just doesn't happen as you expect it to happen. They lose against bad teams and they beat good teams. That's what happens every year with this team.
They play to their competition.
That's what happened last year with Ohio State. They are losing all these horrible games. They get blown out by Albany, and then they beat the 15th best team in the country. It's impossible to gauge with this team, really, until you get to CAA play how they're going to do, which last year they get to CAA play and they lose all those games, finish the year 4-9, year before, 4-10, year before, 5-9. Right now they sit at 3-4, though, Tommy, because you mentioned the first game, or I mentioned, both of us, it's a big topic. It's a hot topic.
It's a hot topic, this lacrosse
The Yale game, and you got DJ Smith making 11 saves, 4 for 4 on man-up opportunities in that game for the Minutemen. So that's huge for them that they're able to convert.
And their power play has been a strength all season.
Exactly. And then second game against UMass Lowell, which was kind of a snowball in a way, because I was unable to call the game because my car was stuck in my garage. There was about 10 inches of snow on the driveway. 10-8 was the final. Dan Muller with 3 goals. Dan Muller kind of turning into the quarterback of that offense as well. They went on a 4-goal run at the end of that game. They were down 8-6, 4-goal run to get the W at the end. In the previous game, Yale, they went on a 2-goal run at the end. It was a tie game. Then the last game was against Hartford, which 2 years ago, Hartford got its only victory ever against UMass in their history. 15-8 was the final there, and that was actually UMass's turning point for the season because, as some of you may know, they ended up falling about a ground ball and a sky hook short of making the NCAA tournament later that year after they lose 15-8 to a not that great of a team. Hartford, Consoletti, 2 goals in that game. Dan Muller, 2 goals. Buddy Carr, 2 goals. So some of those people that I was going off on a couple weeks ago saying, they aren't attackmen, they're middies, really settling into that role, especially Grant Consoletti, who's got 4 goals in the last 4 games. Buddy Carr also playing well. And DJ Smith, quick note, 21 plus 5 is 26 saves between those 3 games. Hartford wasn't a great performance by him. Lets in 10 goals, only makes 5 saves. But the other 2 games really make up for that.
They definitely seem to. Now, John, you've mentioned a lot of players, and you showed me your famed graphic before the show, so I think I know the answer to this question. But who is really the star, the juggernaut, the leader of this 3-game win streak?
Well, as I just mentioned, you've got Dan Muller, who's got 6 goals in these 3 games. Grant Consoletti had 4 goals. Buddy Carr really coming along as well. But there's one man that just takes away it all. And if we were to go back in time about a month, Tommy,
So what do you think this team's going to be by midway point of the season?
Well, it's really hard to tell because right now they haven't really got that, stud lefty attackman. But right now, it looks like Tyler Bogart could be that person. It's just that right now he's not. And we're back.
And we're back from the past. Sorry if time travel's a little new to all you guys. We get it figured out here. So you talked about Tyler Bogart.
About a month ago, yeah. So Tyler Bogart had 12 goals, and if we pull up the graphic, we can see that Tyler Bogart, there's a perfect correlation between games in which he has 4 goals, which he had in all 3 of these, and wins that UMass has received. That's like that psychology thing. P equals plus 1.0, I think. Is that how that works? Go look it up. I'm right. Tyler Bogart with 12 goals in these 3 games, only 1 assist, but it doesn't matter because he's the absolute. I might propose to him. It's getting to that point where it's that level of love for Tyler Bogart right now. Now, whether or not he skips ship to another school in the offseason, let's not worry about that yet because there's a history of that in this program. But Tyler Bogart he's that guy now. He is absolutely that player. 12 goals in 3 games. That's what propels them to victories like this. Yeah.
So, John, riding Tyler Bogart, riding the team's hot streak, you go into Brown.
Today we're talking about UMass's
really
new
solid
straw
program
policy
in the NCAA,
implemented
especially
this semester.
lacrosse-wise.
I have some lovely guests with us.
Quick note on Brown: 2 and 5 on the season right now. They have, or 2 and 3 rather, losses to Rutgers, Stony Brook, and Villanova. Some pretty good schools, especially Stony Brook. They're currently losing 2-5 to Holy Cross, which is I know Bill Belichick's daughter's a coach there, but that's the women's lacrosse team, so that's not exactly. It doesn't correlate one way. It's like when you bet on Florida in March Madness because they have a good football program. It's just it's not something you should do. So Brown, coming from last year to this year, pretty much the only player they have left is Dylan Malloy, who some of you may know won the Twarton Award last year as the best player in lacrosse before snapping his leg right before their playoff run, in which they end up losing to UNC in the national championship. But they pretty much lost everyone except for Dylan Malloy. Dylan Malloy is the only piece they've got left, and they're 2 and 3 right now. And they haven't exactly been putting up the good offensive numbers because it's just him. It is a team sport. One guy can't do it all on his own. Because if someone can't pass you the ball when they're supposed to, then that's not how it's going to happen. But
Dylan Malloy must know how it feels to be on our floor hockey team.
Oh yeah,
the same way I feel. 8 points.
We've been covering that all year, haven't we?
Oh yeah.
Are you upset?
Molly, do you have more to add?
I'm upset. I think we got robbed. But that's another argument.
Well, yeah. Pull it back though. Back to UMass Lacrosse, Tommy.
Sure.
I know you're very interested in airing your grievances about our floor hockey team, as am I. But maybe we'll make a podcast for that.
Oh yeah, sure.
Do the first ever UMass Sports Weekly podcast. Actually, I think Mark Jean-Louis back in the day had one. His handprint's still on the table. So going back to Brown, though, UMass can win this game as they have all season, as being efficient with their shooting, which is I know I bring up those graphics just about every week showing how many shots the other team has versus how many of them actually go on net. Then I explain why that actually does mean something, and it's not just them cranking it over the net, yada, yada, yada. UMass, they miss some shots, but they have a much, much, much higher percentage than the teams they're playing of how many of their shots actually go on net, which is, you might look at it, you'd be like, oh, they're not getting a lot of shots off, but they're getting just about the same shots on net as some of these other teams, but they're not cranking 40 shots into the bleachers every game. So I think it's pretty simple. I think the outcome will be very similar to these other games where both teams kind of float around 10 goals. I think UMass can easily win this game as well now that they've got their offense on track, especially with people like Jeff Traynor coming out of the woodworks, out of nowhere it seems like, coming in and contributing. Buddy Carr, Grant Consoletti really settling into those roles despite making the change from Midi. And if they win this game, Tommy, last year when they were 4-4 going to conference play, they were ranked number 20 in the country. They could be on rank watch if they come away with this game right before CAA play begins next Saturday.
Rank watch, CAA play. We got a lot of exciting stuff coming up for this team. So we're hoping for the best, expecting the best. Thanks a lot, John. After the break, we're going to break down the March Madness that has been happening in the NCAA tournament and the March Madness that occurred over spring break. No, we won't talk about that. What happens in Cancun stays in Cancun.
Oh, no, that was last year.
That was last year. But Liam Burns is going to come back on, and we're going to talk about our brackets and give our predictions for the rest of the way. So stay tuned. And welcome back in. Now, the March Madness is always mad. It's always crazy. It's always wild. But there are always a few people that tend to do relatively well in March Madness. You have your North Carolinas, you have your Dukes, your Villanovas, your Syracuses. Not really the case this year. There's a lot of teams that Syracuse didn't even make it. We have some upsets. So we're going to talk about the NCAA tournament a little bit. So give you an idea of my bracket. My Final Four was Villanova, Purdue, Oregon. Oh, I'm sorry.
There it is. Yeah.
My Final Four, was Villanova, Florida State, Purdue, and North Carolina. Now, Villanova Lost to Wisconsin because Wisconsin should not have been an 8th seed. I think we can agree on that.
I agree on that, yeah.
Florida State is my dark horse pick. I also had SMU going to the Elite Eight. Yikes. Purdue, my other dark horse, staying strong, and I do believe the University of North Carolina will win it all. I had them winning in my first bracket, changed it to Villanova because I thought I cracked the code. You know, Villanova, Coach Jay Wright got the monkey off their back, kind of, after getting bounced in the second, third round the past couple of years. They finally won the championship last year. I figured they had the formula, and you know, Jay Wright goes out and he does what he always does and rips my bracket to shreds. So, Liam, what was your Final Four? Where are you standing right now?
I'm not standing too well at all. I think I had Villanova, UNC, Kansas, and Duke. And in one of mine, I had UNC and Duke playing each other in the final. That won't happen anymore because if you watched the South Carolina-Duke game the other night, which was a great game, by the way, I hope you all watched it, because South Carolina completely outplayed Duke, and it was just a very exciting basketball game to watch till the end. Yeah, Duke just did not play up to its standards, and I think a lot of people are happy that Duke lost because it's Duke, and you either love them or you hate them. But South Carolina pulled out with a great win against Duke. But now who do you have winning the whole thing, Tommy? Now that Villanova has busted your
now
bracket.
that Villanova is out, I still believe that this is North Carolina's tournament to
Right,
lose.
yep.
If you look at their talent on the glass, Pat Summitt had a famous quote. It was, offense wins games, defense wins championships, rebounding builds dynasties. And this North Carolina team is built from the inside out. Yep. They're really hard on the glass. They offensive rebound the crap out of every team they play. And if, you know, those games they get their shooting going, they're practically unstoppable. Yeah. Now, have they had their duds in there? Yes, they weren't perfect this season. They lost to Duke in the ACC tournament. They had a couple bad losses to other teams, but I still think this is the team to beat. My team to watch would be Michigan.
Definitely.
I had Michigan. I had them up to the point they're at now. I had them losing to Oregon. Michigan is a team that can shoot the three, and in the NCAA tournament, shooting the three is dangerous. And they have three guards that can play together all at the same time. They're tall enough that they can filter them through and still have a competitive defensive lineup. And when you play those guys together, it's really tough to play against them. Michigan
kind of has a motivational background to it too. You obviously heard about the airplane crash that they got into. I feel like that definitely took a toll on how they have played, because they had to come out in one of their games and play in their practice uniforms because it was still an investigation going on about the plane crash and all their things were still on there. And I think that that's the reason why they were able to upset Louisville. And they just had that total background of just like, you know, we got in this accident, but hey, we're still here to play basketball, and it's March, and we're ready to go in and possibly beat Oregon, which I think, I mean, at a 7 seed, Michigan is, and Oregon at a 3, I think they can do it, to be honest with you. Like you mentioned, they have those 3 guards, and they can shoot the heck out of the ball. So I personally think that Michigan will take over against Oregon, but obviously Oregon coming out of the Pac-12, you know, very good
Oregon,
conference.
Having Scotty Brooks,
Yep.
Pac-12 Player of the Year. Oregon is injured, though. They are a team that is hurting. So it's going to be a difficult road for them. Definitely. But they squeaked by against a URI team that,
won the A-10.
URI won the A-10. They weren't really supposed to be much, and now
they were.
They give Oregon a run for their money.
Yeah, they were a sleeper in the A-10.
There are 2 high seeds, well, Michigan too, but other high seeds are Wisconsin and South Carolina. Like I said, I don't believe Wisconsin is an 8 seed. I think they're an 8 seed in a 5 seeds body. But Florida, coming out of that section of the bracket, Carolina, kind of like SMU, which is why I picked them.
Yeah.
They're long, they're tall, and they're athletic. They can play zone, they can play man-to-man, and they can trap. And you put that together and mix in, you know, a couple clutch threes here and there.
They'll do it to you.
You never know what could happen.
Yeah.
So, Liam, what would be your revised Final Four?
My revised Final Four right now, out of the Sweet 16 that we have, definitely I have Kansas. I think Kansas, they have the experience. They have the, being Kansas. You know, that's who they have.
Bill Self is a great coach.
He's a great coach, yeah, and great leaders. So I have Kansas. South Carolina will lose. I don't think they're going to make it to the Final Four, unfortunately. Yeah, Kansas. We have more down here. Forget about Gonzaga. Gonzaga, I always have iffy feelings about Gonzaga. I don't think they're going to make it to the Final Four. I don't know what it is,
There's an interesting statistic about Gonzaga. The coach's name is escaping me, and Sean Miller of Arizona. They're called the two best teams two best coaches in college basketball that haven't made it to a Final Four.
Yeah.
And what Sean Miller does so well with Arizona, bringing back my whole rebounding thing, is Arizona can coach out big men. And they usually suffer guard play-wise. They usually struggle shooting or defending on the perimeter. But if their guards can play up to snuff with people from Xavier, people from Gonzaga, people from West Virginia, they got a real shot at the Final Four too.
Yeah.
Kentucky, I'm not big on this year. Malik Monk
neither.
is a freak athlete. He's probably going to be a great NBA player. I'm not big on them. Yeah. Butler, they amaze me every year. I can't explain what they're doing.
Yeah, that I think could be an upset, Tommy. I mean, I am hoping that UNC makes it to the Final Four, but I think that's going to be a very, very good game at Butler and UNC. So, Kansas, UNC, I believe UCLA could make it to the Final Four, and coming out, Arizona, I think, will make it to the Final Four.
I will say, LeVar Ball, good player. Lonzo Ball, excuse me.
Lonzo, yeah. LeVar's his father.
His father. Lonzo Ball is a phenomenal player. I think UCLA hits a wall against UNC. My Final Four, it's going to be Arizona, UNC, Michigan.
You got Michigan. Ooh.
Florida.
Okay. Wow.
I think you're going to see Arizona and UNC with UNC winning. So there
it is. Well, there you have it.
Fortunately, that's going to do it for us here at UMass Sports Weekly. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, everything you can. Try to find us. We'll give you updates on the new basketball coach, where the hockey program's going in, maybe some updates on our brackets. So we'll see what's going on with that. Have a great week, everybody. And we'll see you right here next week. Peace out.